Hey, this is Chad Hackmann with Alair Arlington and one of our Arlington projects, a significant renovation and rebuild. I'm here with the project architect Tripp DeFalco. Here at Alair, we have a little bit of selection in the design service. We allow our clients to have a little selection in the design services. And they selected Tripp. Tripp, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how they selected you?
Yeah, again, I'm Tripp. I'm the architect. I think I'm unique because I have building experience as well as just architecture. And it's my job as the architect to really get inside my client's head and design as if I were them. And I do that by asking a lot of questions. Kind of like a doctor who has to diagnose a condition before they can prescribe a medication. I do a little process called problem seeking. And that involves a design questionnaire that my clients fill out. I want to know, what do they like about their current house? What do they hate about their current house? What are they trying to achieve? How do they live on a daily basis? Are they entertainers? Do they have sports needs for the kids? Do they need home office? So all of these things become design pressures, and it's my job to take those pressures, work with the zoning, work with the lot, and in this case an existing house, and come up with a solution that meets their needs and hopefully meets their budget and is beautiful in the process.
And the benefit from our end is that buildability standpoint. The fact that Tripp has built homes before, done renovations in Arlington before, is familiar with working with Arlington County is a home run for us. Hey, now we're inside. We're in what's going to be the dining room. We have an open floor plan between the dining room and the kitchen and the living room. And one of the challenges we get into these structures is that the old house, the original house, has 2x10 floor framing, which is pretty popular here in Arlington. That means we have to marry that up so we only have a 2x10 joist bay, which for these huge open spans is kind of hard to achieve unless you have additional structure, which you have in your steel beams. Right?
Yeah, that was the only way we could really get the open spaces that the client wanted, was to put in very large steel members to allow these sort of thin joists to span the distance that they needed to go. And rather than wrapping them in drywall or other finishing materials, we've decided to leave them exposed in this case. So they're going to be a design element in the space, and we're going to paint them out in a black finish, and it'll be a real addition as opposed to just something which is purely necessary.
And that also allows us to hide all the plumbing and all the electrical and any sort of, there's no ductwork up in this ceiling, but down below we'll hide the ductwork and everything else for a nice flush modern look. So now we're upstairs in the third floor loft, which is going to be one of the owner's home offices, which is a big want in this project, right, Tripp?
Yeah, I mean, this was critical for my client because she does work from home all the time, and she really needed a place that was private from the other spaces in the house, especially when the kids are home. So that really played against their desire to have a house which was still unassuming from the street and not as large in appearance as some of the new construction around here. So the way we did this renovation was to use really every available finished space that we possibly could, including up here in the roof structure on the third floor.
So upstairs we talked about the need for a home office. Down here we're looking at a need for more for their family. How did this space come about?
Well, they've got a couple of excellent athletes in the family, and they really needed a space where they could practice throwing and hitting baseballs, as well as dancing and gymnastics. And so we dropped the new basement almost 3 feet below the old basement. So this whole area was underpinned where the old foundation and footing was, and now we end up with a space which has 11-foot ceilings, which is going to be great. I think they're going to have a lot of fun down here.
It'll be a lot of fun, make a lot of noise, and have easy access to outside and everywhere else.
My client chose to renovate instead of build new because the existing home on this lot was already larger than what was allowed in terms of the setbacks on the side yards. So because of that, if we had torn it down, we would not have been able to build as wide as the existing house was. So that really led this project to having to be a renovation from the start. Anything new that we built on the back of the house and the addition that we're standing in right now does have to comply with current zoning setbacks, but enabling us to keep what was here really helped the flow of the house and really got them what they needed.
And by doing a renovation, we're able to shorten the timeline for permit approval and a few other things.
But we got lucky in this case that we were able to use a residential addition permit process instead of new construction or having to go through civil engineering. So yeah, that was a big time saver.
Excellent. So one of the benefits of the transparency of Alair is that you know exactly who's going to draw your plans. We have a couple of different designers and architects we work with that we have experience with. Tripp obviously stands out in that regard. And we were able to get him involved from day one, very early on. So when we were working around budget, around design considerations, around general client schedule and needs, he was here from the start.
One of the things that I really like about working with Alair is that very early on in the design process, I can get some feedback on budget. I mean, anybody can stand on a job site and wave their hands around and throw numbers around, but unless you have a team that can go and work with the client to make selections, which end up being a very significant part of a budget, selections meaning countertops, cabinets, appliances, tile, light fixtures, without real numbers on those things, we're just guessing. And the other thing that's beneficial is having subcontractor input. And Alair's not afraid to get their subs involved to look at a set of plans, at the 25% mark, maybe the 50% mark, and it helps our clients because we're not going to make decisions that they can't afford to pay for.
Hey Tripp, that should wrap up our tour for today. Thank you very much. If any of y'all want any more information on our services, our Tripp, or our combined services, check out the links below. Thank you very much.